What is up, Eastern Oregon? This is Dodgy with EOAlive Sports, and today I am joined by EOU head baseball coach Kyle Treadway. Kyle, how are you?
Doing well.
Awesome. So 5-2. We have a great homestand this last weekend against St. Martin, a D2 team. We did well down in California. Talk about it a little bit. Where are we at?
Yeah, I think it's funny. Today is actually the anniversary of me getting hired here at EOU. So
One year,
man, and we're entering into that second year. And brand new coaching staff. We brought in 26, 27 new players.
Wow.
And we had a big senior class, right? So returned a lot of the guys who were already here, but added to kind of what we had coming back. And, you get that full year of preparation in the weight room and practice and, implement your new systems, things like that. I think that, that's kind of how we've gotten here, right? And definitely more dynamic offensively this year. Shout out to our coaching staff who's done a great job with our preparation, specifically Jordan Hara, our hitting coach. And, I deal primarily with the pitchers, to be honest with you. So, a lot has to do with how well our assistants are preparing our guys. But the buy-in's been awesome, you know what I mean? And I think when you're recruiting a team that won 3 wins last year and kind of a brand new program, there's a lot of question marks, right?
Yeah.
But our faith hasn't wavered at all, and we had a really strong fall as well. So rolling that momentum into the season, and guys are playing confident, guys are playing free. We still have a lot to clean up, obviously, and I think if a few things bounce our way the other way, we could be undefeated right now. But at the same time, if a few things don't bounce our way, we could be 3-4 right now, 2-5, right? Yeah. So. But excited to see our guys play with that kind of effort and passion, and it's been fun so far.
Yeah, when a lot of people don't understand, when you say you just take care of pitchers, that's not true. Well, I mean, the head coach at this level in college, they have so much stuff to do. People don't understand.
100%. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the day-to-day administrative work,
stuff,
and that was
crazy.
The thing. They say. And I obviously through 1 year now I've gotten a taste of it, but they always tell you when you're an assistant, you never know how much work you're going to have as a head guy, and you kind of are like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And then you get in the seat and you're like, holy hell, there's a lot going on. And, it has definitely been a change of pace in terms of what I do on a daily basis. But I think we've figured out a good workflow, and think we've got a good system to let our assistants also take a lot of the load from a day-to-day preparation standpoint at practice and things like that. So I think that obviously as a head coach, you got to utilize your assistants. So I think we've done a good job sharing the wealth there.
Baseball and softball program, they added a new piece of equipment. What's that thing called?
Yeah, we added a hit tracks.
Yeah, hit tracks. There you go.
Hit track system. So obviously for those of you who aren't familiar with these, all of you are familiar with Eastern Oregon. The weather here sometimes doesn't play to our advantage. So we have to hit indoors a lot, and obviously it can get monotonous. And if you're not making it fresh every day and changing the environment, you can get a lot of guys just kind of coasting through your work. So the hit track system allows us to kind of virtually project on a TV screen like where the ball is going off the bat, how hard they hit it, at what launch angle, where the pitch location was. So when we do live ABs indoors, pitchers versus hitters, we're able to utilize the hit tracks because you've always got guys like, oh yeah, that was a hit, and the pitcher's like, no, it wasn't. Well, now we kind of know.
Now we know, right?
Now we kind of know. The only thing we can't factor in is like every now a ball gets kicked. You know what I mean? Like the defense is pretty nails. I'll tell you what, they don't make errors on the hit tracks,
right?
So the hitters kind of have to earn what they get, and it's a tough environment for them as it is. But we're not complaining. And I think making the environment difficult but yet fun for our guys has definitely helped us get ready to go.
It has to be a huge bone. I mean, when I look at it, like, I grew up here, I played here, and I look at how much time I spent indoors playing baseball, and it's one of the reasons why I left here.
Sure.
Oregon, period, to go play college baseball.
Yeah.
I did not want to be indoors anymore, but this particular hit tracks, and it's a $20,000 piece of equipment. It's not cheap, but it adds a different element, right? 100%. So that time when you're in the cage, you're not just
that, and it helps us track how guys are doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have their own profiles. They can go back and look at their day.
I love that.
We do the same thing with our pitchers with Rapsodo. So it's a camera system that gets released, looking at spin rate, movement profile, obviously velocity as well. But we can kind of build pitch shapes and things like that indoors, and kind of track how guys are doing. So when we put them both together, it really gives us a, because hitting and pitching, I mean, like defense obviously is really important.
Yeah.
And so is base running, right? And we do both those things at a high level in terms of our prepreration. But at the end of the day, the hitter-pitcher matchup is what determines a baseball game, right? And so when we're able to measure, what we're doing on the mound and what we're doing in the box granularly like that, and be able to individualize stuff, right? Because it's, everybody's a little different and needs a little bit of a different tool set to be successful on game day. I think leveraging those pieces of equipment have definitely helped us. But, we're utilizing pitching machines a lot. We're using a lot of different hitting equipment and things like that. Definitely more of like a new age field, but we still want to be tough. You know what I mean? You can't be soft and play at EOU. I mean, it just is what it is.
Love it.
If you're afraid of the weather, if you don't like working hard, this isn't the place for you. And as much as the weather, obviously isn't optimal, guys chose to be here, right? They chose to be Mountaineers, and we buy into that every single day, and we're proud of that, and we wear it as a badge of honor because no matter where we go, right? The weather's not going to be worse, right? It's always going to be better when we walk into the yard.
I love it.
And we play a lot of home games, man. So we wear that that road warrior mentality as a badge of honor, and it just kind of helps us prepare to be mentally tough on game day.
What about you personally? Would you consider yourself an analytics coach?
I think that analytics is just kind of like a buzzword, right? It's really just information.
Right.
So, we want to utilize every information piece that we can to make informed decisions when we get to game day. But that doesn't mean that, we're throwing it into an algorithm and pooping out a lineup, you know what I mean? Or pitching decision, let me put it into my system, beep, boop, beep, you know what I mean? There's still that, coaches' intuition, coaches feel, and the players play the game, right? And they're human beings. So they're not just machines out there. So you have to kind of factor in who has that slow heartbeat in big moments, you know what I mean? Who likes to get their heart rate up and be in those big spots, who needs a little bit of a calm down and relax type mentality, and what does that mean for their role on game day? But yeah, I mean, when we talk about analytics, we're just utilizing information to make informed decisions, and but that doesn't mean that we're just bound to what the hit track says or what the Rapsodo says or what Blast Motion is saying. It's just information to help our guys get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is build a player development factory out here, quite 100%. Frankly. Because if you're going to be inside, you might as well utilize all the information. You might as well utilize the weight room. You might as well make environments more difficult for your guys to improve. So,
and there's no analytics when it comes to momentum. Baseball is a momentum game. It really is.
You saw that this weekend in our 100%, game 3, right? We 10-run a team. We came out and scored 3 on them, and then they punched us right back, and then they just kept snowballing, and we still made a little bit of a comeback there, and we had the winning run at the dish in a small yard where any swing of the bat can potentially leave. But yeah, no, 100%. It is a momentum game, and energy flows. And so if you can be consistent with your energy and you can be relentless, and I think our guys are, man, and that's the cool thing about our team is, in the first game of this weekend against St. Martin's, we went down 4 initially, down 5-1. We brought it back within 5-4. We gave up a 3-run bomb the next inning. It was 8-4. And we're late in the game, and it's 8-4. Didn't matter for our guys. Immediately back to 8-8. And then Trevor Baker, shout out, had a hell of a weekend. Hit that opposite field home run to put us up 9-8. And then Jay Carrera, who's been nailed so far this season, locked it down. Both guys from Sacramento area.
Nice.
So shout out for those guys coming up from Sacramento, where it's a little more warm. They come up to the cold weather and still balling. So
hey, it's an adjustment period. You talk about it being a small yard. There was a time when it wasn't a small yard. I mean, back in the days, it was back another 40 feet. And it was considered.
Where did those days go? Let's bring them back. Come on now.
I mean, it was a pitcher's park. I only ever gave up 1 home run on that field my whole career. And so it's a lot different now. I'm seeing anytime I go to a game and I see all these home runs, I'm like, dude, this is so different, because it used to be considered one of the biggest parks in Oregon.
100%.
And you had to hit a bomb to get it out of there back in the days.
Not anymore.
We hit quite a few home runs this weekend. What did we hit? 5, I think.
Something around that.
As a team.
I think that we're doing a better job though controlling flight. You know what I mean? Hitting the ball hard, low, and giving our guys a chance to hit doubles. And when we're hitting bombs, it's not like we're trying to necessarily do that. You know what I mean? Which is
with this team this year, obviously 3-39 last year, not ideal. You took over 3 or 4 games into the season.
Yep.
What were you trying to nail home with these guys moving into the season, and trying to leave last year in the completely out of their minds?
Yeah.
I would think.
Well, our assistant coach in one of our meetings as we entered into the season this year said, "We're not going to talk about last year anymore."
Good.
You know what I mean? We're just not going to do it. We're going to move forward. And I think when you bring in a new coach staff, new roster, and we brought back a lot of the guys who really wanted to be here. You know what I mean? And I think when you're building a program from scratch, you want guys who want to be a part of it. It's not just like, oh, well, I want to keep playing college baseball and this is a place that'll take me. You want guys who are proud of being Mountaineers and guys who want to be a part of something special long term. So I think moving forward, you talk a lot about the preparation, because the prepared man is a confident man, right? If you don't put in the preparation in fall ball and summer and into winter with lifting, you're not going to show up confident when we get to spring. You don't just show up in your first month of practice and put everything together, right?
Right.
It's a culmination of your entire offseason and getting stronger in the weight room, implementing systematic approaches to how you play defense, how you run the bases. How are we going to face different pitchers? How are we going to face different hitters? Really just kind of teaching them the game, from starting from scratch, no stone unturned. And I think fall ball was electric because we were able to do that. We played 22 games, 16 scrimmages, or inter squads internally, and then we played 6 games against junior college opponents this fall. So we played 22 baseball games this fall. Some of them are 5-inning games sometimes, 7-inning games sometimes, but nonetheless, we're able to play the game of baseball. And we did a lot of film review in the fall. I put a camera up in the press box and we'd sit down as a team and break down just cuts and relays, bunt defense, how we really wanted the base running to look, proper footwork. What does a good rep look like? What does a bad rep look like? That way our guys can visualize it. It's one thing when I'm talking to them in a classroom where we get into the gym and we're doing some stuff with them, but you got to get on the field, you got to rep it, and you got to do it during live bullets, right? Because if it doesn't transfer the game, it doesn't matter what you do.
Doesn't matter one bit.
So I think that more of it was just talking about being prepared and just being, talking about a standard above winning, not necessarily being tied to wins and losses, but just playing our best version of baseball. And we continue to try to hammer that out. We have meetings every week on Monday after the weekend where we talk about, what can we do in terms of standard above winning to improve going forward? And what did we do really well, and what do we need to improve upon? So we're always continuing to go forward, right? Because we don't talk after a doubleheader. We don't usually talk at length.
Right.
And I know that's rare for a lot of coaches, but I think
I'm a fan of getting them out.
Correct.
We just spent 6 hours playing baseball.
And we'll talk in between a doubleheader just to kind of quickly move forward, talk about what was good, what was bad, and just quickly move forward, right? Because game 2's coming. There's nothing we can do about it, right? Because I think that after game conversation, a lot of times is if you win, you really are pumped up, you're feeling really good about yourself, or if you lose, sometimes you're overly aggressive. When in reality, it's usually somewhere in between both those things, right?
Yeah.
So, we want to be really prepared when we speak to our players as a coaching staff. We want to sit down and really be able to give them actionable coaching points rather than getting angry with them.
Rather than giving them
just yelling at them or an emotional speech either way, right? 100%. Whether you're overhyped because, man, we're the best team ever. We just won a game, or, God, we got to change everything. We just lost. We don't want to be that team, right? We want to be steady Eddie and keep it moving forward and being consistent. So
absolutely. So let's pretend like it's Monday. And what did you say this weekend? Where did we do well, and what do we need to work on?
Yeah, so we talked about not being satisfied. I mean, great job, obviously. I think when you still need to kind of put it in perspective of this is still a brand new program. This is still a program that struggled a little bit in the last couple of years. So anytime we're able to have success, we should celebrate it.
Absolutely.
I think we did a great job understanding that first weekend against Simpson. They had some high-level stuff. They had some guys on the mound that could really bring it, had some good breaking balls. But they walked us a lot, right? We walked 9 times twice in that weekend in games, right?
Which is a ton.
Versus St. Martin's, good job mixing. I mean, that guy you talked about game 1 before the show, That guy was nails. He was really good. Had a good lively fastball, mixed in his breaking ball as well. Had a good changeup, was mixing speeds. We still got 3 on that guy. Thank goodness Tommy Wiles ran into one looking for a changeup at the dish, got it, and left earth. But
my camera ran out of space on the card. I caught the swing. I posted it, but it ran out of.
You didn't get the full one.
I didn't get the round in the bases.
No, Tommy's been bomber nothing so far this year, but he's been electric and
nice.
But like versus Simpson, where they were walking us a little more high stuff, we had to be a little more disciplined. St. Martin's was relentless at throwing strikes, so. I thought we did a good job hammering pitches when we were looking for them, whether it was, fastball just or we're sitting on breaking ball or whatever. I don't want to give away just absolute everything, right? But, I think our team did a good job, taking one weekend approach and then going to the next offensively. And then pitching wise, I think if you look at our roster right now, we have improved for sure on the mound in terms of stuff and depth, right? We don't really have a guy who's going to go out there and be 90 to 92 with an electric fastball, right? That doesn't exist on our roster. And we got a lot of guys who are low, mid to sometimes high 80s, and especially in cold weather, it's hard to get up to that high 80s level. But we have guys who have, outlier qualities on the mound, whether you have a good changeup, good breaking ball, your fastball's got good sink or good ride or whatever. And I think we're doing a good job leveraging those things for our guys to be successful. I also think we're doing a good job putting guys in roles where they're going to thrive. We have some of our best guys right now on the mound loaded up in our back end. You know what I mean? And our starting pitchers, I think we can still improve. I think early in the year too, you work through a lineup multiple times. You kind of have to learn how to mix a little bit more, and I think we're getting there, right? But we talked about last night, when we get guys 0-2, 1-2, we got to execute a pitch out of the zone better. I think we're being a little too good in those spots. And then when we have runners in scoring position and they're in like a 2-1, 1-1, 1-0, kind of not traditional hitters counts, but definitely like neutral or even faded a little bit towards the hitter in terms of where the leverage is. We're coming over the plate a little too well. You know what I mean? We're giving them something where they can drive the ball. We're giving them too many extra base hits with runners in scoring position. So those are some of the things we talked about. Obviously, little base running things too. And but generally as a team, love our energy right now. We talked about that being strong. Talked about how resilient we've been. And then you got to reward the pitchers when they get a shutout, man. We talked about, hey, you go 10-0 shutty, we're going to get pitchers BP at some point here, boys. You know what I mean?
Right. I love it. I love that.
That fires up the group, and they earned it, man. I mean, I don't think we shut out anybody last year. We might shut out one team.
We had they combined for a 2-hit shutout.
No, correct, right?
Yeah, that's
and it was a great job. We're walking a lot of guys, but I think that happens early in the year. You're still trying to fill out the mechanics, fill out your stuff, especially since we haven't been outside very much. So
yeah, and it's still a little cold.
That is what it is, but we also don't want to make excuses, right? We play in the cold all the time. We're used to it. We shouldn't. We're not going to pump up guys to be like, oh well, it's okay. It's a little cold. We're not going to do that. We don't want to crank up the excuse machine. We just want to be the best version of ourselves on game day and. Just go to war with the gun we have that day. You know what I mean?
So coaches, every coach I've ever had has had his list of absolute nuts. Sure. Whether it be sunflower seeds in the dugout.
Sure.
There's just things that you weren't allowed to do and things that you had to do. One of my coaches, everybody had to have their pants pegged.
Sure.
What's Kyle Treadway's list?
Yeah, so we, I wouldn't say that we're necessarily crazy sticklers on things you can't do. You know what I mean? I think we're very intentional in the weight room. We're all going to look the same. We're not going to wear hats in there. We're going to wear team color shoes.
Absolutely.
We're going to tuck in our shirts. There are some discipline things, in terms of what we wear at practice, how we want our game day uniform to look, what we wear in the weight room. We come to meetings with a notepad every single day. And I don't tell them they have to take notes, but if you got something that you want to write down, I want to make sure you got your notepad right.
Yep.
So there are little things like that. We have some of those things for sure. But we have 3 very simple team rules, and everything else kind of falls under those. And we have that big long meeting at the beginning of the year talking about that. But our 3 team rules are: 1, be a good person, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. 2, be on time. I think the best thing that I ever heard At the first ABCA I went to, Pat Casey, Oregon State's head coach for a long time, was speaking because national champion the year before speaks on stage for the first speaker, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, time is the only inventory you cannot create more of. Right? Everybody's talking about creating more time. I'm going to make more time for this, more time for that. Well, that's not true, right? Time is going to keep moving. There's nothing you can do to create more time. You have to be efficient with your time, right? And we don't run 5-hour practices. Right, we get in and we get out. Right, we hit through the day in smaller groups, so our guys can go to class, but still get some individual attention with the hitting side. When we go team practice, it's usually an hour and a half, and we're out. And then we lift for an hour, and that's our day. We might have a meeting at night for Sky Report or whatever. But I understand being a student athlete's a grind, man. And I don't want to waste their time, but I also don't want them to waste our time. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we only have so much time to get better as a roster. We want to be efficient with that time. So rule number 2 is be on time. And then rule number 3 is be an elite communicator. You know what I mean? Like, things happen in life, right? You know, whether you've got something going on personal, whether you've got something going on with class, you know, whether you've got some injury going on, you know, we don't want to hide anything from each other, right? We want to be fully transparent and communicate with each other. And, you know, we want to be elite communicators to make sure we don't have any issues, right? So we aren't messing up the signs with the runner on second, right? So we aren't, you know, missing a test for a class that we absolutely can't miss. Right. Or we have a small arm injury that we're trying to pitch through, and I didn't tell coach, and all of a sudden it's turned into something worse, right? And so we want our guys to be fully transparent and be elite communicators. And so three very simple rules, right? I'm not breaking, you know, it's not any groundbreaking things that are changing the world, right?
No.
But if we can adhere to those 3 things, and everything else kind of falls in, like all the small things, they kind of fall under those 3 main rules. And we just ask our guys to follow those standards. And you know, we've had a pretty good.
Yeah, well, those 3 standards are part of being successful in any walk of life. It doesn't matter, baseball, anything.
And that's the thing too, man.
You know, be a good person, be on time, which. I hate to say this, but kids nowadays struggle with that. They're not like when I was a kid, on time was 15 minutes early. On time was you had your cleats on and ready to go.
100%.
You know what I mean? 10 minutes before
And we have done a great job with that.
I love it.
You don't want to be the first guy at fall ball who misses.
Right.
Because it's a bad deal for you.
It's not friendly.
We had one guy this fall who, I won't name him by name, but he learned very quickly that being on time is important.
Yeah.
And not just being on time to practice, but being on time getting your paperwork in.
Yeah.
Being on time to communicating with coaches about what's going on in your life.
Being on time to class.
You know,
being on time to
100%.
volunteering in the community. Being 100%. On time to everything, because it carries over.
But that dude, day one, I told him, hey, you're gonna run for the next 5 days, okay, and you're not gonna practice, okay, because you wasted 5 days of our time for you not getting your paperwork in and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he accepted. I said, or you can walk away. You can keep your stuff. You get to keep the fall shirts. It's all yours. You can walk away. You can be done. Your choice. He's like, okay. He ran. And that dude is a freshman for us, and he's been in our starting lineup multiple times.
I love it.
You know what I mean? And that kid, he's a dog now.
Like, most of the time, it
only
only takes
war
once.
With that kid now. You know what I mean? And you know, he learned quickly, and you never want to outright make a guy an example, right? You don't want to necessarily make a guy feel bad in front of everybody, but he accepted what he did. Everybody kind of knew what was going on, and we just moved on afterwards.
Yeah, sometimes personal, you have to, though.
It's never personal.
No.
Right? We just. You guys tell me you want to be successful. You guys tell me you have goals about winning. Then our job as coaches is to hold you accountable. Like that's what we exist for. But it's not a personal thing, right?
No, but that's part of the buy-in thing too. If they're bought in, then they understand. You know what I mean? If you got a guy that's bought into the program, then he understands why he's the dude that's running those 5 days, and they don't take it personally.
And that's tough to do as a freshman. Coming into your first weekend of fall ball, that is extremely difficult. Like the easy decision for that young man would be like, I think I'm good. You know, I think I'll go transfer to junior college, or I'll go figure it out. Nope. He was like, all right, I accept this. Like, this is what we're going to do. And like that, I trust that kid on game day, like just as much as anybody else on our roster.
I love that.
And that dude doesn't have fear in his eyes.
Good.
And he's awesome.
All right, let's talk about the CCC. So when does league start? League starts in February.
We actually start in March. So
in March, okay.
Because we have 7 conference teams.
Yep.
We play 4-game weekends, And, I think the CCC is a gauntlet a little bit, right? We kind of cannibalize each other in terms of how good the teams are.
Every sport, pretty much.
100%. And so, and baseball is unique because we are smaller in terms of a CCC conference sport.
Yeah.
So we have those 3 weekends. We have Corbin and OIT, and then we have that bye before. But there are 3 weekends where we are kind of like scheduled to play teams that are non-conference counting games.
Okay.
So Corbin and OIT, late February, early March, those are going to be non-conference counting, but conference opponent games.
Okay, so
we start counting conference games that first weekend against Bushnell. I think it's March 15th, around that time.
March 15th, we start the CCC.
Yeah. That's when you go 0-0, man. It doesn't matter what you do before that.
What's the games? How many CCC games are there? Like, how many conference games?
So we have 24.
26 times 4.
6 times 4.
So it's not like softball where you only 3 of your games count.
Nope.
All
count.
4 of the games on the
all
weekend
9s,
count.
dude. We're the only conference in the country that plays all 9s.
Oh, wow.
It's
so
electric.
everybody else plays 6.
Yeah, you got to love baseball if you're going to play in the CCC, man.
Yeah. Tough conference, too. I mean, you
100%.
got LCSC, you got good College of Idaho team lately. I mean,
Yeah,
the last couple of
UBC
years.
is a
British
fantastic
Columbia has been
program.
really
OIT
good.
they won our conference. Oregon Tech now, sorry.
Yeah.
They won our conference last year. Coach Garces does a great job with that roster. Bushnell has recruited their butts off, and they've got a really talented roster coming in this year. So, there's a lot of really talented teams in our conference, and definitely going to be a little bit of a gauntlet. But I think we are, last year it felt like we went to war to a gunfight with a knife a little bit, just in terms of the preparation. Loved our guys last year, but we just weren't there from a preparation standpoint.
Right.
This year we're definitely going to war with a gun, and excited to do it, man. It's gonna be fun.
So let's talk about goals then. Where do we want to be when that CCC conference schedule?
Yeah, no, great question. I don't set like placement goals. We our first meeting this year, we talked about 2 things: having a standard above winning, as we've talked about. Right, we're not concerned with wins and losses necessarily. We're concerned about the level of play that we put out. Right, because all we can control is how good we are on game day. Right, and if we win, awesome. That's the goal. Right, that's definitely a goal because we're competitive, right? Anytime, like you and me fire up, we play a game of checkers right now. I'm gonna want to kick your ass, right? That's just how I am.
I would hope.
But the other thing is, I just want to play as long as possible. You know what I mean? And I think like that on the teams that I've coached and played on, that I love being around the guys are the teams that have been the most successful. You know what I mean? And you should want to play as long as possible and be around the guys as long as possible. Right? So. If that means we get to make the CCC tournament because we played at a high standard, like our standard above winning was met and we were playing at a high level, awesome. If that means that we roll momentum in the CCC tournament and keep playing into a regional, awesome. I'm not going to set any goals towards that. I just want to play as long as humanly possible with this group that we have this year. And then we'll assess in the offseason and see where we go next year. But, I'm just excited that we have the group that we have. Love our guys. They're fully bought in. They're fun to be around every single day. Our coaching staff is melding together really well. Fun to be around those guys every day. It's a very loose group. We like to have a lot of fun, but we're also accountable and we also work hard. So, man, I just don't want to set goals. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that,
get it.
too, I think goals, and I felt this way for a long time. It's actually funny. My old teammates, when I played back in the day, would kind of have a laugh with this. I always had a hot take about this, but to me, like goals set stopping points, right? When you reach a goal, that's when you can get complacent, right? You can feel good about yourself, but things keep going, right? We talk about time, keep moving, right? If we set a goal and like, oh, hey, we want to get 3rd place in the CCC. We get 3rd place, and then we go in the conference tournament. Well, we got 3rd place. We met our goal.
Yeah, we're good enough.
All right, no, man, we want to play as long as possible. We want to continue to raise our standard in terms of our level of play. And, what happens at the end of the year happens, man.
Well,
but just want to play as long as possible.
Especially with baseball, too, because baseball is one of those games where, 7 times out of 10 you fail and you're one of the best hitters in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they talk about in baseball, like especially any team can beat any team on any day.
And random
that.
Random variance is crazy in the game, man.
It's
crazy.
in
It's a
baseball.
complete dice roll sometimes. Like the Arizona Diamondbacks played in the World Series this year in the major leagues.
It's
You know what I mean?
crazy. Nobody expected
the Arizona
that.
Diamondbacks played in the World Series.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane, right? Yeah. And I think the Rangers were a little more predictable. I'm a Giants fan. I'm partial to Bruce
Way
Bochy,
more
so,
predictable. Yeah, very much. But when you say that, the whole not having setting like visual goals or
Yeah.
actual, goals, it makes sense in baseball because
No, 100%.
having those goals are, like you said, it's kind of a mind barrier, really.
Yeah.
Like you get to that place and you're just like, okay.
And those are things we just can't control either, right? Like if we play our best version of baseball and the team beats us across the field because of one thing not going our way,
bounce.
that's not something we can.
A bounce.
That the game's weird.
A call.
Okay, the umpire. We talked about that recently too. We can't be blaming the umpires. We can't be angry with the umpires.
Nope.
They are human beings. That is such a. I told our guys in the meeting yesterday. I said, raise your hand if you umpired this fall for us behind the mound. And the guys raised their hand. I'm like, was that hard? Yes.
So
were you happy when you got chirped? No. Why? You're a human being, right? So
it doesn't feel good.
yeah, man. And umpiring's hard, man. So and they're gonna make calls that go against us. It's how it goes, man. Right. They're not perfect. It's how. But we just want to be in a position where we can still win, even if we have some of those adverse calls, right?
100%.
So, but yeah, no, I'm just not a big we have to get third place or man, we got to win 20 games. You know what I mean? Like that's outside of our control, right?
Nice.
What we can control is what we do in terms of preparation every single day and how we play on game day, what energy we bring to the yard, and how hard we play.
Did you guys are you guys using the catcher link?
Yeah, so I got the walkie-talkie.
You did. As a pitching coach, do you like that?
I do.
I like giving signs. I like.
I don't like people knowing what's coming.
That's
so
true.
I think that too. When you have the one-way earpiece, you can communicate with it. You can give some flavor to what you're talking about, right? So it's like, you're not just calling high fastball. It's like, all right, hey man, we need this up and away.
We need this.
I want you to flash. I want you to flash late, and make sure hey, this breaking ball needs to be off. He needs to know that. So you got a flash target to where he knows that this thing is going
it needs to be
off.
in the dirt. Yes.
Or like, hey man, he needs your support. So give him like a little pump up here.
I kind of like it in terms of that. It feels like I'm a purist when it comes to baseball.
Sure.
And it feels almost like it just feels weird.
No,
I was sitting there taking pictures, and I knew I was listening to their pitching coach talk to their catcher.
Sure.
And I could have been relaying that to you.
For sure. Well, you got to have some feel too, right? Like where you're at, especially on the road. Yeah. You don't want to be standing next to the net. Yelling into the mic. Right?
Hey, throw a fastball.
You got to look around your shoulder a little bit and see who's watching.
He did. This guy, St. Martin's, he was standing right next to me, and I could have been like,
sure.
Well,
we need to figure that out. Let's go. Let's get that system going. But no, in all seriousness, I think baseball is definitely modernizing a little bit here over the years, and I think it can just kind of clean up. Right. We talk about being an elite communicator. Right, this gives us a chance to not have any question about what's going on.
None.
Right, and that way the players know what to expect, the pitchers know what to expect, and it just clears up any confusion.
What about robot umpires?
That's a tough one for me, man, because
I'm a pitcher. I'm anti. I like the umpire, rewarding me for hitting my spot.
You know what I think I like is having the challenge system they have in the minors.
Oh, where they tap.
Like he taps. They have once in a bat he can tap and say, "I don't
take a look at it."
Yeah, or the dugout can.
But you only get a couple of games.
Been called a strike. Like I think that's more fun.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with like tennis, right? When they challenge and the crowd's all clapping and stuff. Yeah. I think it brings like a fun little mystery to what's about to happen with.
As long as they don't overdo it.
Sure, you got to you got to control it a little bit, right?
Awesome.
Same thing with football, right? You only got 2 challenges.
Well, I think you've done a good job of reinvigorating baseball
I appreciate it, man.
Around here. I mean, I've seen some comments. I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people that are pretty invested in baseball in this community. Baseball has been important here, and we lost it at EOU for a long time.
I know it.
And I think people are excited about EOU baseball right now, and I love it, dude.
And that's the goal, man. I mean, I think that when you're in like our family, we love LeGrand, man. Like it's been
it's awesome.
Total
it's a
180.
Great community.
It's been a total 180 from our life previously, and I just love how nice people are here. You say hello to each other in the store. Like that is an awesome collaborative feel that I didn't get at my last place. And so, and even last year, man, like we had pretty good support, and we were not very good in terms of what we were putting out there product wise. And I think as we progress here and continue to raise our standard in terms of the level of play that we have on game day, I'm excited to see how the community responds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think we can build a really cool environment for our current players and our community as well. You know, we've got some ideas in terms of like promotional stuff to where getting people out and showing up and doing some giveaways and things like that for people. And
well, I mean, you can see it with other teams. You know, like look at volleyball for instance.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say that people aren't going to support you if you don't win, because they are. We're going to support you regardless.
100%.
But the elevation of support happens when there's that consistency. And
100%.
that's just anywhere.
100%. And people want to go see a winner.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
That's the reality of the
Makes it a
reality
lot
of
more
sports,
fun.
man. That's the reality of sports.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and the thing is like, obviously the program died for a while, and that alumni base is either extremely recent or very much not recent.
Right.
But I think like we had an awesome alumni game this year, and that's what I told the guys who made it back was like, you know, we want to create this family environment. You know, we want people to be proud to be Mountaineers and be a part of this baseball program. And, you know, I think we're doing a good job starting that snowball, but I think we have a lot of steps to take.
I love
you
it.
know, so if we want people to be involved. You know, we want people to be out at our games. We want it to be rowdy. We want it to be fun. And I mean, it just makes it great for our current roster.
Absolutely.
You know, playing in front of people's fun.
Yeah.
So the more people we can get out on game day, the more support we can give to our guys. And we'll reciprocate that too, man. We want to be a part of the community. We want to be a part of this, greater Union County community. And just excited about where we're going. But we still have a lot of work to do, man. A lot of work to do.
Yeah, it looks like we're headed the right way in my eyes.
I appreciate it.
Eastern Oregon, he's EOU head baseball coach Kyle Treadway. I'm Dodsy Kyle. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dodsy. Appreciate it, man.